Welcome to this week's episode of Listen to Your Coaches. I'm your coach, Mike Wilkins, here with Coach Will Morrill. Will, why don't you go ahead and take it away since you're going to drive this week's episode?
So last week we did Don't Tell Will 1.0. Well, this week we're doing Don't Tell Mike 2.0. So, for those of you who are not familiar, I compiled a bunch of questions from our fighters, and I've got them listed out here. Mike doesn't know what they are, so we're going to get some, honest responses.
We'll see.
All right, let's dive right into it. So, the first ones I'm going to bang out in like kind of a rapid fire type of deal. All
Okay.
right. The first three are all from Luke Martin.
Okay.
All right, so number one, what is your favorite fight of your own?
My favorite fight of my own is my first CFFC fight against Steven Rigman. It was a fight that I planned on losing. I took on 8 days' notice. It was the co-main event on CBS Sports, so it was my first fight that was going to be actually televised. Mm-hmm. And he was, at the time, 6-1. He had 5 walk-off knockouts, meaning he didn't need to go ground and pound it out. Like, he was just dropped them dead.
Destroyer.
And he had 1 submission win, which was a guillotine over a Renzo Gracie black belt. And at the time, I was a brown belt. So that had me concerned. And his lone loss was to Daryl Horcher, who Daryl Horcher's very next fight was against. Yeah. And Daryl's very next fight after beating Regman was against Habib Nurmagomedov.
Yeah.
You guys may have heard of him. So, where I stepped into the cage for that fight, was worried about getting knocked out. Like 8 days notice. I took the fight on your couch.
Yep.
We were playing Mario Kart at Will's house. And they told me, hey, if you take this fight, we'll give you a 2-fight deal, and insinuated like, we know you're gonna lose, but we'll give you like a favorable matchup for your next fight. So this was like, I was like, hey, I saw this as like an opportunity. Like, it's like a lot of people make their UFC debut in a similar fashion, and I was like, all right, the CFFC seems to be the way to the UFC. At the time, they were putting the most fighters in the UFC. So I took the fight, and then I surprised myself and won, like, pretty handily, Yeah.
That's a great answer. All right, next question. What is your favorite fight as a fan?
My favorite fight as a fan? Oh, man.
It's hard.
That's a hard one. Wow. I nothing is, like, jumping out off the top of my head. But I would have to say the Frankie Edgar, Gray Maynard series was very good. I was pretty invested in that, as like Frankie Edgar is my favorite fighter. And I also was a big fan of Gray Maynard because anybody who comes from a wrestling background, I tend to like admire.
Yep.
So their series is probably one of them. I'm gonna go with Frankie. So they had a 3-fight series. Fight 1, Gray Maynard. It was a non-title fight. Gray Maynard won, like a decision. Like he got the takedowns and stuff. Fight 2, Frankie was the current champ and Gray was
The challenger.
And it went to a draw. That fight 2.
That was a crazy one.
Yeah.
Good answer. What is your favorite moment in the corner?
Oh my God, that's a rough one. Favorite moment in the corner.
That's tough. There's a lot of
That's
good
tough
moments.
because then you feel like you're gonna slight somebody.
Right.
So my favorite moment in the corner.
But don't think about this in terms of like who the fighter is and like you're sliding someone. Think about it in moments.
So this one, I'm gonna withdraw it from being just MMA, and I'm gonna let it be all sport.
I think that works.
I would say it was 2013 WPIAL Championships for wrestling. I was cornering AJ, and it was the elimination match to go to States. He was wrestling a kid from West Mifflin, James Harrison. They had wrestled, I believe, 7 times up to this point. AJ won the first time and then lost the next 6. So like, and he had actually, in fact, he had lost to him on the front side in the quarterfinals. So top 3 go. AJ had lost to him on the night before, on Friday night in the quarterfinals. He lost to him, and then wrestled his way back through the consolation bracket. James Harrison lost. I know it's funny saying James Harrison because you're going to think of the Steeler,
right?
But he lost in the semifinal. And then they wrestled each other for the third place spot, and only 3 went, so it was to go or to not go. And AJ won 5-2, and it was probably the best feeling. Wow, like post match, post fight,
Right.
like feeling there, because it was
Yeah.
like a fairly decent upset. It wasn't an upset in this fact of like no one thought, like we didn't think he could do it, because all the matches were like 1 point matches.
Right.
It's
It's
just
not like he was getting
dude,
blown out.
It's just like this dude just always got it done, always got
Yeah.
it done, and like yeah,
To have that little extra mental push to be able to get over, that's so huge.
yeah. One of the newspapers was there, like obviously was there, but they got a picture of like AJ like jumping on me afterwards, and we like, and it made like a prominent portion of this. It was a good picture,
Right,
like you could
yeah.
tell there was like an emotional like
Yeah.
thing going on. So they made it like the prominent picture in the sports section for that. So that was
That's
cool.
sick.
Yeah.
Good answer. All right. This next question is from Brittany. Who wins? Kayla Harrison versus Mike Wilkins.
I'm gonna go with me. I would win.
Dude, it's funny. I saw Shane Faison made a story where he
Oh
was,
yeah, I saw that.
he was talking about like, dudes who are like Instagram trolls, like saying in comments,
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'd beat up these guys," and he's like, "You have no idea. Like, these girls would trash you," and they would.
So he's true. He's
Yeah,
true. Like
they
they
would.
have no idea, and they would trash him.
but
like
you do have an idea.
I do have an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would win that one. But
Yeah.
that does not mean that I'm not thoroughly impressed with.
Oh,
Kayla
absolutely,
Harrison.
dude. There's a lot of like women that I would beat in jujitsu who are way better than me at jujitsu. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
absolutely.
It's just weight classes exist for a reason.
Weight
you know?
classes exist for a reason, for sure. But yeah, she's phenomenal. I think she should be the champ. Probably. I mean, hopefully I think we talked about. Did we talk?
Yeah,
about
we
it?
talked about it on our
Oh yeah,
past
because we broke down
podcast.
the UFC 300. Yeah, so you could look back to that, but in my opinion, like like she should fight for the title next. She's gonna win it, and good luck getting that off her.
Yeah,
for a
she's an
while.
incredible fighter, but yes, you would
Yes.
you would beat her. Okay, this next one is from Sage.
Okay.
The question is, who are your favorite competitors to watch in any combat sport, such as MMA, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, gi, no-gi, etc., past, present, or upcoming?
Wow. So it's just like completely open.
Completely open,
Dustin
and he said
Poirier.
competitors, so you can just start spitting them out there.
Right. So let me just write. So just to like for MMA, Dustin Poirier right now is one of my favorites. I think what would really set him off, like, was with his boxing. Like, there's so many takedowns open.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, you know what I mean. Like he might not want to take them, but like I'm a wrestler. I would love this. Like he would do terrific. I think it would enhance him even further to snag some of these takedowns that he's clearly setting up tremendously with his boxing. But like just like watching him fight, it's like he's my favorite right now to watch fight.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's appeasing to my eye.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
aesthetically, he looks
yeah,
cool.
yeah, aesthetically. So then if I were to go to wrestling right now, I'm gonna go with Yanni Diakomahalis. So he had a rough weekend at the Olympic trials. Didn't turn out his way. He's a world silver medalist, and he's the first at the weight class 65 kilo. He was the first world medalist. And everybody's aware that the United States is like kicking the shit out of people now, right? Like we're a dominant country. Russia still got us like edged out, but man, we closed that gap, and we closed it hard and fast. So we're accustomed to winning medals. In fact, we've won a world championship at every weight class. We've won a world medal, a world or Olympic medal at every weight class except for his weight class. The last time we did, Bill Zadek, who's the current coach, won the worlds in 2006.
Wow.
And we didn't medal again until Yanni did in 2022.
Wow, that's
So he ended like this very long drought. And again, like I like the way he wrestles. Unfortunately, he's always in like really like controversial matches. Kind of leads to the way he wrestles, right? He has a real like loose style, like kind of creative style. Yeah. So like there's sometimes where it's hard to score his
right.
match. Like,
certain calls
like,
are
yeah,
iffy,
and stuff.
yeah.
But I really enjoy watching him wrestle all time. Wrestling, like I'm credit to John Smith, who just recently retired, all-time American great. Jordan Burroughs, obviously. it was a great career to follow and fun to watch because he was so clutch and his double was so powerful
explosive.
and just like his like level changing and like the timing and pacing that he would put in. Besik Kudakov is a big one. He was like my go-to favorite. He was a Russian. He died in a car accident.
Right.
But he was like Henry Cejudo's like rival.
Right.
So much so that Henry once said that he was planning on naming his son Besik.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing that.
Yeah. Big time rivals. So him in jiu-jitsu, man, like Dante Leon, Hanato Canuto, on the up and coming right now, like Max Hansen. These are guys who I'm really excited to like watch compete. I just like their style. Baby Shark.
I thought you were gonna say the Rotolos. But who's Baby Shark?
Baby Shark. Oh, that's Joe Gohesh. He won 80 cc's at 66 kilos in 2022. The Rotolos, for sure. The Rotolos. I feel like we don't get to watch them like as much anymore since they're like with one. Like they're like I don't know. I just feel like I'm not seeing them on like
Big one coming up soon.
Yeah, I just feel like who's number one and UFC Fight Pass events are kind of pumping out
Right.
like
More
more
quantity.
They're more, so like I'm getting to see like Dante more and stuff like that. So yeah, those guys. Great question, Sage.
Didn't know that there was a Baby Shark in jiu-jitsu. I thought we only had that in Muay Thai.
Oh, you have a Baby Shark.
Petchdam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Fights out of Petchdam.
Yeah.
All right. Good question, Sage. Next one. This is from Ty. Ty's actually got two questions.
Ooh.
Not everyone's going to get them back to back, but this one you are going to get back to back. So, number one, who'd be your dream opponent to headline against in a UFC pay-per-view?
Dream opponent to headline against in a UFC pay-per-view. For the honor of the sport, George St. Pierre.
Oh, that's such a good answer. Such a good answer. Love it. No notes. And then the second question,
No notes.
also from Ty. Do you think that your double leg is better than his?
Then ties?
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I think it's just a little bit better, but his was phenomenal as well.
Love it. All right. This next one is from Vince Mang.
Oh boy.
If you could tell young amateur Mike Wilkins one thing, advice, information, etc., what would it be?
Technique is king and fight more.
Dude, you're out here spitting fire.
That's the most true shit ever, though. Like, my regrets are not, which I have completely 180'd as a coach, and I'm like technique crazy.
Yeah.
And by technique crazy, I don't mean having like the deepest bag of techniques. I mean
Right.
understanding the technique at a deeper level, like really knowing how it works
Depth
and why
of
it works.
technique as opposed to breadth of technique.
Yeah. Like I'm not trying to the stupid Bruce Lee thing, right? Like is it?
I'd
1,000
rather
kicks?
fight a man who's practiced 1,000 kicks one time than a man who's who's practiced one kick 10,000 times.
Yeah, same deal. I wish I just would have like bought into technique maybe a little earlier, and then I wish I would have just been a little more daring to jump levels sooner and more often and put it on the line more often, because every time that I put it on the line, whether I won or I lost, I grew.
Yeah.
And like that's the hardest thing to do. So that would be my advice to my own self.
You're killing it. You're killing it. All right, this next one, we switch to a little bit more lighthearted. This one is from Mr. Hound Dog Hoagie.
Let's go.
The question is, will Mike ever get a tattoo?
No.
I think Warren pointed this out one time. We might be the only gym in the world where like
All the main instructors don't have tattoos.
Yeah.
None of us have a tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is funny. No, I do not plan on getting a tattoo.
Yeah.
No. I don't have anything against tattoos. I think tattoos look really cool in certain ways.
Right.
Yeah, but I feel like at this point, like I'm too old to like start now.
See, it's interesting because
And I don't want to. I just don't want to.
Right.
Also.
I'm in that same boat, but I'm also like, if I were to get tattoos, I might even wait an extra 5-10 years from now. Because like when I was a young lad and I was like, oh, I want to be all tatted up and be all metal and everything. Like, dude, the stuff that I wanted tattooed is not cool now. You know what
Every
I mean?
tattoo that I had planned for myself is stupid.
Yeah. So it's like, what makes me think that in 20 years I'm going to trust myself from now, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the same boat I'm in.
Yeah. So no tattoos for me.
All right. This next one is from Farman.
Oh my God. We got a question from Farman.
With a
All right.
note from Sage.
Oh my goodness. Nerves.
The question from Farman is, when are you going to lose your fat?
This guy, dude.
Hold on. If you weren't mad enough already,
Oh, here we go.
Sage added on, and he said, and I quote, 77 kilo Mike is afraid of me.
Oh my God.
What do you have to say to this?
So here goes what I have to say. I'm losing it now. All right. Okay. I'm on my way now. I'm getting in good shape so that way I can smash Farman, as I do. I smash Farman for like a minute, and then I get smashed the rest of the day. So I understand. I understand where he's coming from. It is better right now. Like, you know, I'm a coach, but I'm still in training partner. I still have the training partner skills.
You and I did the last,
Yeah.
big push for Farman.
Dude, I threw up and kept going. Like,
Twice?
bucket, boom. Yep, it kept going. Had to make a statement on that. But I can go for spurts, and that's a problem. Right? I need to be able to go for longer. Now, here goes what we need to be careful of, though. Mm-hmm. I can't do well enough that I come back. We need to keep me out of that shape. We need to keep me out of that shape. But it would behoove me and benefit Farman specifically, and then also like Ramirez, if I was in better condition.
Which is interesting because I am not fat really at all, but I'm in terrible shape. I'm in worse shape than you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it right now. It's happening right now. This is on camera.
I thought you were gonna give the greatest compliment that you've ever gotten from Farman.
Oh, yeah. What did he say? He was like,
he goes, Mike, I would never need to go train with anyone else. If you were in shape.
Yeah, because like, you know, he went and did portions of his camp at like Nick Catone's and stuff, get really good sparring partners out there, and like, you know, that's invaluable and stuff. But he had half jokingly after our last spar session said that he wouldn't need to go anywhere if I was in shape because like I was like, which was a compliment saying like how good I am.
It was a nice backhanded
But
compliment.
it was like for 2 minutes, yeah.
Okay.
like
and then do you have anything to add on based on Sage's quote?
No, I don't. Yeah, like he's right. Like
77 kilo Mike is afraid of Sage.
Yeah, dude. If I go down the 170, I can't get the 170. I don't want to be 170.
What's 77 kilos? That's like
it's 169.6.
Oh, okay. You think you'd be afraid of Sage? No, I don't know kilos.
No, I would. It would be difficult to beat Sage if I didn't have some of the weight on him.
I thought you weren't going to let that one slide. This is going to make this next question slightly less interesting. This one's from Brian Mitchell.
Okay.
Who are your top 3 training partners that you like to submit/beat the shit out of?
That I like to beat the shit out of? Tim Bailey.
See, I set you up after this question. I thought it was now going to be Sage Farman, but okay.
Well, I mean, I don't like. So if I'm going to be honest, I'm not really beating the shit out of them.
Okay. Well,
You know?
then let's stick with what you said. So
Those are like just like tough rounds.
So why do you enjoy beating up Tim?
Because Tim always got some backhanded shit to say. You know what I'm saying? Like Tim's always like, so Tim.
I don't. Tim's always very nice to me.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing with Tim, right? All right. We love Tim. Everybody knows we love Tim, right? Tim knows we love him. We do. You know, Tim's a great guy. He does a lot for the team. We do a lot for Tim as well. It's reciprocal. Everybody understands. But Tim will talk some shit. And for being a little dude, he shouldn't be talking as much shit. Even Brittany will be like, Tim, like, you need to stop saying so. Because then I throw him through the earth. Like,
I saw you do that the other day.
There's been many occasions where, like, I don't do this to people anymore, right? Like, I don't, like, unnecessarily throw people down into the ground. But I do to Tim. Because, like, come on, man. Like, one day I was gassed. Like, me and him were going to go to the next round, you know. As Farman may have told you, I'm not in the best shape. So I'm like, I've done the round before, so I'm like gassed. So I'm like on my like hands on my knees, like breathing heavy. And he just walks up and puts his chest right in my face. And he's just like standing there, like, because we're going to go the next round. And I was like, dude, I'm going to bury you. I'm going to bury you right now. And I rock bottomed him. Do you know what the rock bottom is?
No.
It's like The Rock, like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. It was his signature. It was one of his signature moves when he was in the WWF or WWE. Mm-hmm. Just like it's like a one arm like pick up like slam.
I
And
saw
then he
you
would
do
hit you
that
with
to
the
him. Like
that's it. Yeah,
like a
yeah.
couple
That's
days
what I'm
ago.
talking about.
Okay,
Yeah. This was a couple days ago.
Yeah.
This just happened. So Tim definitely is up there. I do like kind of beating the shit out of Brittany. She's just like such a good sport about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like she enjoys it too. She's like, like,
Also,
oh.
you made a one she does. Like I remember one time she had me in an armbar and I picked
This
her
was
up.
it. This was what like she wasn't like my person yet.
Yeah.
You know, like Brittany, I'm very much invested in Britt, and like, you know, we're very close, and I work with her all the time, right? I was like not like really working
Right,
with her
yeah.
yet, and then like as deeply, and then you picked her up, and she had an
I
arm
picked
lock
her
on
up
you,
and I was
you picked her
holding
up,
her
and
up.
she was like,
"Slam me!"
and then like right after that, I was like, I'm gonna start coaching her.
Also, I think this is interesting. I remember one time we were talking about like grappling with Britt, and I was talking about like how, you know, I'm not the most technical grappler, but like I'm like kind of athletic and strong, and I was like, dude, like there's some like Mary Carter, dude, like dude, if I wasn't strong, she would tap me left and right, and you were like, dude, when I go with Britt, I gotta go, and I was like, me too,
Yeah.
like you have to go.
You go, like sometimes I get done rolling with Britt and I'm like, dude, I think I'm an asshole. Like, cause I'm like, I should be like not doing this shit to her. Right? Like I get like, what do you call it? Like when you're kind of embarrassed after the fact.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, why'd I do that? Like, yeah.
But you have to, otherwise she'll beat you.
Sometimes you have to do that. So I would say Tim, for him just fucking sucking. Britt, because like she's like a little gremlin about it. And then I'm gonna go throwback.
Okay.
And
I
like
know where this is going.
Dude, I've been doing this for over 10 years now, and I am just sometimes I even feel bad about this, but like I don't really. So I don't feel bad. But Andy Anderson.
Oh, not what I thought you were gonna say, but
Dude,
okay.
I mean, going knee on Andy's face all the time. I get top side control. I just slide my knee right onto his face. He's just like, "Argh." But like, I just can't help. Like, dude, me and Andy, like, we've been going at it for quite some time, and I've just kind of been in like a dick the whole time. But that's, you know, he's like one of my like, you know, very good friends,
sometimes you
main
gotta,
training partners.
you know?
Yeah, dude, it's all like, you know, it's
all
all good.
love.
It is. It really is.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you said Tim on that last one, because this next question is from Tim.
Oh, great.
He said, having cauliflower ear, how do you get your AirPods to stay in so perfectly?
So, I don't know what generation AirPods I have now, but they do not stay in well. They're a newer generation. So here goes the thing. So I think I had like generation 2, which are like, they had the same like ear as I think like whatever the first one, the first AirPod, like the first version AirPod, I think they used the same like ear bud.
Yeah.
For version 1 and version 2, right?
Okay.
They just probably did some sound canceling and stuff like that. I think I have version 3, and I went and got version 3 because I have this cool little charger next to my bed.
Oh,
that
the wireless
it's like one of those
yeah.
mag chargers, and my phone goes on it, and it immediately turns my phone into like an alarm clock setting, which is like super cool and like beneficial. Like it's very, you know,
Useful.
useful,
Yeah.
right? Turns into like alarm clock setting, and it like dims the phone real dim, and it like notices when you're looking at it because it'll be black, and then I'll like turn and look at the phone, and then boop, it like lights up in a dim, so it's not like startling to you,
Right, yeah.
Like time, and on that you can set your AirPods behind it, and it charges your AirPods, and if you have an Apple Watch, there's a tray that pops out, and it charges your watch, and I was like, I want to charge my AirPods on this, but the Gen 2, which is what I think I had, did not have that like mag charging ability.
Right.
And my AirPods, like the battery was starting to go a little bit. They weren't holding their charges
Yeah,
long.
they're starting to wear
So I
out.
went and got Gen 3, and like, dude, I think I'm just gonna give them to Katie and like go back to Gen 2 because they do not stay in my ear as well. Something about my cauliflower ear, like this part, like the inner
ear
part of my
canal.
ear, is still like
Exposed.
relatively undamaged.
Right.
You know, like most of my damage is in the upper surrounding parts. But yeah, like the new generation one, like, dude, just fall like. I feel like when I move around, I'm
Yeah,
like I feel
it's
it getting
gonna-
loose, and I always got to push it in. I drop down, hit a set of push-ups, it's gonna fall out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, my ears just have not been impacted nearly as bad, I would say.
Lucky you. Although, luckiest to me, bro. I got no cauliflower.
None.
All right, next question is from Tyler Fleming, and this is where I'm going to start maybe bouncing around a little bit, asking one from one, and just kind of keep going around. So, first question he's got is, what drove you to transition to MMA after a lifetime of wrestling?
Oh, it was just like the next thing to do. So like I left school. I was wrestling at Waynesburg, and I left school. I had poor academic performances. I had to go to summer school at CCAC, and like while I was there, I was just like not really like I was like I'm not going back to Waynesburg, right? And there's no wrestling at CCAC, so I was like done, and I just like kind of needed to replace it. I do remember being at Waynesburg and like watching the Ultimate Fighter and being like, oh, I'm gonna do that, right? You know what I mean, type of thing. And then like when I was done, a friend of mine was like, oh, you should fight MMA. And I remember I said, you mean the UFC stuff?
Yeah.
Right? And he was like, yeah, you'd be good at it. And so much so, like I often get this from like my old like friends from high school and stuff. Like whenever like back in my career, whenever it like started getting like public that I was like a pro fighter and stuff, and they're like, "Yep, makes sense. Like
Yeah.
makes sense. Like it's like they're like, yeah, like if we had to pick anybody from school who was gonna go do this, it's you."
Yeah.
And stuff. So I always like kind of like that, but yeah, he was like, "Oh, you should do it," and I was like, oh, "Okay, cool." So I signed up for a fight and did it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was my transition.
Man, that just works beautifully to go into this next question. So I'm just going to preface this by saying this one's a long question.
Okay.
It also was written in such a great way that Lucas said, I'm not even going to ask a question because I'm not going to sound this awesome. So this question comes from Max. He said, given
Maximilian?
Maximilian,
Jurl?
the one and only.
Sheesh.
So he said, given the era of MMA that you came up in was a lot more the Wild West and a much harsher environment in many ways, even in the training room, what are your feelings when it comes to up-and-coming fighters in the current era of MMA? Are you at all resentful that we have it easier in many ways with a clearer path forward, more regulation, etc.? Or are you happy to see the sport progressing that way?
Wow, great question. Keep me on track here because I feel like I'm gonna.
I got you.
All right, so am I at all resentful? Yes. Right? It's a more complete sport now, right? Which it's just getting better, which it's going to be and it's going to continue. Am I thankful that I came in the era I came in? Yes. I wouldn't be as good in this era, right? For example, my wrestling level coming into MMA was not as high as like let's say like Luke Martin, right? Not really comparable, right? He was a much higher level. So like but in my era when I came in, I was like the wrestler, right?
Right.
I literally started fighting without doing any other like
Right.
like combat sports. It was just my wrestling, and like I just like literally whooped everyone's ass for a while,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but comparatively, right? Like if I came in with just that now,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have. It wouldn't be like that. I often tell our fighters, some of our fighters, I'm like, yeah, they'll be like 2-0 or 3-0, and I'd be like, yeah, dude, you would have whooped me as an amateur, right? But like maybe shoe on the other foot, maybe I come up at the same time as you, maybe I whoop you though because now I have these resources.
Right.
So am I resentful towards the resources? Yes, I am. But I appreciate it. And what really makes me resentful is that I just don't feel like they appreciate it.
They just don't know.
Yeah, they just don't know. So like, and I try not to hold it against them as much. And then like at the same time, then you start telling them about like why they should be appreciative and what you had to do. And then you just sound like the dude who walked uphill both ways to school.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, okay. But like the fact of the matter is like they have it so good right now. And like and they're probably going to have it better in 10 years.
Right.
And like isn't that just how things work? But like a lot of these fighters, they're not doing the things that we had to do this, like currently, Style PGH, it's like a one-stop shop. You know what I mean? You got your jiu-jitsu there, you got your striking there, you got your strength and conditioning can be there, your recovery can be there, all of that. Also, it's like relatively locally convenient. So like, you can do like your like early portions at Zealy, at Bridgeville, at Monroeville, or if you're closer to the Strip, at the Strip.
Right.
And then it comes time to get on like, for lack of a better term, let's say varsity, right? The fight team. Now you're on varsity, right? And now you got to drive to the Strip District from practice, right? Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. You got to drive to the Strip District. Like, dude, cry me a freaking river, dude. Like, what do you want us to come to you? Like, Like, what is happening here? If you think you deserve to be on the more elite version of the team, right? Like, do you think we're gonna have the elite team at every location, right? Like you got to get down with where I am. You know, you got to come to the strip for that type of stuff, and it's just like, oh, like not being at as many practices as I think they should be on their own merit, on their own, right? So like I didn't have to be told, right? Like I went to practice. I asked for extra, right? There were times I was a professional fighter. Right. And there were times where, so during my fight camps, we would get up at 6. I would train at 6 a.m. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and Warren would come train with me, right? And like, dude, think about the sacrifice he made for that right there, right? He would come train with me. Me and him, we would train at 6 a.m. I would go to work. I was an electrician. I would go work all day. I would come back. I would teach the kids classes and then take the adult classes because that was my training. Now it's like some of these fighters, they only want to come to fight practice, right? Fight practice is practice. Where are you gaining your skills? Like, you know what I mean? You got, like, yeah, we'll touch on some skills in fight practice, but you got to be in the class. You got to learn. Like, and it's just mind blowing to me, and it's irritating, and it's irritating as shit. But then I just sound like a grumpy old man. So yeah, I am resentful towards that, but I'm happy that they're having all these opportunities, because also in my second career now as a coach, that aids me, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're able to fight like closer to home. Like, I did my whole amateur career out of state. You know why?
Because they didn't have it.
It wasn't legal here. It's not like, oh, there were no promotions here. No, it was illegal in Pennsylvania to fight MMA.
Yep.
You know, so yeah, I'm a little resentful, but I'm resentful that they're not as appreciative as I believe they should be, or at least they are not demonstrating their appreciation through their actions to the level that I would like to see them do. That's my opinion. That's how I feel.
That's kind of what I thought, is it's a little bit of both, you know? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Good question from Max. All right. This next question, actually, I might do these out of order, but we might end on this one. We'll see. So this next question comes from Will Moriarty.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Mittens, what do you got for me?
Mr. Mittens himself. He said, do you think competing in other arts like kickboxing and jiu-jitsu up an MMA fighter's game before hopping back in the cage?
Absolutely, 100%. I feel like it's almost undeniable, right? Because like in mixed martial arts, it's just such a broad stroke, right? There's just so much, right? So like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, like, all right, you hear it from every fighter, right? Okay, like, all right, let's do this, Will. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
All right. If we're talking about our fighter, Mr. Mittens, where's his weakness right now?
I mean, I would say in his grappling.
His grappling, right? So would you say, if he also agreed, that he should then spend more time in jiu-jitsu classes?
Yeah.
Right? Guess what? He's doing that, so good job. Good job. But you didn't say, oh, just go to more MMA practices.
Right.
No. We pinpointed what we thought we wanted to improve at, and we isolated that, and we improved on that, right? So yeah, do I think that there's value in the same way the same way you're going to more jiu-jitsu practices, or if your striking's weakness, maybe you're going to more striking practices, you know, like you can go compete in that art too, to like help you focus on that portion of your game. And it doesn't have to be your weakness. I know I used weakness, but weakness is an easy example. Sometimes you need to sharpen your sword. You know what I mean? You need to go remember what you're good at.
Double down on your strengths.
Yep. Yeah, so yes, absolutely.
Figured that would be the answer. So I'm going to bounce back and forth between a couple here. We'll do a couple fun ones, and then we'll do maybe a serious one. And Mr. Mittens has another one that I think we're going to end on because it's very fun. All right, so this one is from Nate Dufresne.
My man.
Had some great questions, and from what I understand, listens to the pod every time.
Yeah.
Right on, brother. We
Big
appreciate
support.
it. So his first question is, do you have a most memorable submission from a competition?
Most memorable submission from a competition. I'm going to go, it was my third amateur fight. I won by rear naked choke. I'm going to say that's my most memorable submission because I just got dropped. Right? So like I remember like it was an overhand right and it just like crushed me, and like it was the first time I ever had that feeling, right? My whole body just shut off, right? I felt like a cartoon. I felt in my head like whip to the right, but I felt like my eyes stayed,
Yeah.
right? Because I could see everything and I was fully aware. It was like this weird calm.
Right.
Like I was completely aware that like I was like, I can't move my body. And I'm watching him and he's over top of me and he's got his hand up and he's coming down with one big ground and pound strike, right? And I see it like coming towards me and just like barely in the nick of time, I regain control of my body. I freaking slip it, take his back and strangle him right there. Yeah.
That's
so like
awesome.
yeah, it was pretty cool. Just like clutch gene moment.
Yeah.
I had one. This was in the second round too. It was like pretty early in the second round. First round, I was like belly back bombing him like with suplexes and stuff. And I come to find out after the fight, he was a better wrestler than me.
Wasn't he D2 national champ?
No, he wasn't. That was a later fight. I fought Albert Miles, who was a D2 national champ. This was Scott Morgan. Scott Morgan won Powerade, which is like a prominent high school tournament. And I took this fight on 3 hours notice. I was there to corner Luke Burdett.
Yeah.
I was there to corner Luke Burdett. His opponent, Scott Morgan, who was the amateur main event because he sold like a massive amount of tickets. His opponent, who was supposed to be Mike Peters, no-showed. And the promoter was like, does anybody here weigh in between 155 and 170 pounds? Because you had to weigh in within that weight range because Scott already weighed in and is willing to fight tonight. Right? I was fighting 145 at the time, so I weighed like 160, right? And so I was like, I do. So I weighed in. I fought that night. Before accepting it, one of my teammates at the time, Corey Drogo, he wrestled at Connellsville and then transferred to Gateway his senior year. He qualified for states. He was a really good dude. I was like, he was like, I know him. And I'm like, okay, cool. Is he good at wrestling? And he goes, I think he might have qualified for Whippeals, right? Which is like not a high bar for what we're talking about.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm better than that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'll fight him. And I took the fight. And then, like, he lied to me on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I ended up, dominating and winning, except for that one exchange. But then it gave me that great experience.
Man, that's awesome.
So that'd be my most memorable submission.
All right, I'm going to stick with a
No,
couple.
it's not.
I
it's not.
I didn't think that was going to be the answer, actually.
No, it's not. So a buddy of mine, Shane Shinaki, he's a 3-0 pro fighter. He had a really good amateur career, and he was dangerous. He could crack. Even if he lost a fight, which he didn't lose many, his opponent's faces looked like awful.
Mangled.
Like Picasso paintings.
Yeah.
Dude. Like just terrible. So he was like someone you didn't want to fight. And we were hanging out at Mark Cherico's house playing beer pong, right? And so like we were like friends.
Right, yeah.
You know? And we were both like, we're going pro. I just need one tough test before I go pro, like kind of agreeing on it. We're like, let's fight each other. Like, we're the two best. Let's fight each other. So I fought him, and in the first round, I ended the first round. I had him in an arm lock, and I broke his arm. I remember it was like pop, 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 and then it sounded like a t-shirt ripping.
Oh.
And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, your arm is broken. And then I kept going. And then it sounded like if you grabbed rocks and you started grinding them together. And I could look up to the ref at the time. It was Mark Matheny or whatever. And I was like, his arm's broke. And he was like, shrugged it off, gave me the double hands, like, shrug emoji. And I'm like, bell rings, Saved by the Bell. We go to the corner. I sit in my corner. I'm looking across. His arm is dangling. I'm like, fight's over. There's no way they can let him come out. Dude, they let him come out. They let him come out. So about 20 seconds into the second round, get into an exchange. I throw a triangle on him because that's where I get into like strangles over joint locks.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like, what does it mean to you? Right? Because like, imagine tapping is not an option.
Right.
Right? Like it's a street
fight to the
fight.
death.
Right, yeah. Then like I break your arm, you're still here. Like I choke you unconscious, you're unconscious. It's done. Like now you are incapacitated. So like, it's proof in the pudding. Like this was an amateur fight, and it was a title fight, but it was an amateur fight. And he fought with a broken arm, which is like just wild, but you can't fight unconscious. So strangles over joint locks are my preference.
Two great answers right there.
There we go.
All right, I'm hit you with a couple fast ones. Then I'm gonna do a serious one, and then I got one we can end on. So, I might even try to sneak in 3 if you answer them quick. Okay, so this one's back to Mr. Mittens. He said, "Can we do a team cookout with summer games like Can Jam and Cornhole, also beer pong tournament?"
Absolutely.
Love it.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. First off, it sounds fun, but also like team building, team bonding.
Yep.
You know, yeah, let's do it. We're gonna figure out a date. We'll look at like when the fights. I know there's honestly, you know, there's a bunch of people fighting June 29th. There's two promotions with cards at the same time. Then, dude. You know what's the week after that? 4th of July. Maybe we can we probably shouldn't do it on like the 4th because people probably have like their family stuff, but maybe like around it.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna bump back to Nate here. He said, "Would you ever slap fight, like power slap?"
Absolutely not. I think that is so dumb. I hate that it exists.
Me too, dude.
I hate it.
Me too.
Yeah, I get it's a spectacle or whatever, but
Yeah,
like I hate
but
it. I hate it so much so, and like when they went to like push it and stuff, I was so angry about it that like if it come up on like an Instagram reel, boom, boom,
Yeah.
I make sure I give it no time. Bang.
Right, yeah.
I get it off my screen as fast as
Exactly.
possible because I don't want like them
Yeah,
like
in
getting
your
whatever their
algorithm.
reads. Yeah.
Same thing. Also, I was like really hoping that like that wouldn't do well because it came out right at the same time that video of Dana slapping his wife came out, and I was like, oh, maybe this will bury it. But like, nah. I had another one of my good friends who's like, he's more in like what we would, like you and I might call like traditional society. He like hit me up and he's like, hey dude, what do you think's gonna happen to Dana? I was like, dude, in this world, nothing. But yeah, no, not a fan of power slap. All right, I'm going to ask you. We shot through this. Let me ask you one more fun one, and then we'll get into some serious stuff and final one. So this one's also from Nate. Who is your longest term training partner, and how does that impact your roles?
My longest term training partner is Luke Burdett. Luke Burdett. So I have two. It's Luke Burdett. He's my longest one. We started training together in 2007. He was at my very first fight. I was at his very first fight. When Warren moved to Pittsburgh and opened up the gym, Luke and I were kind of a package deal. There's pictures of us together at every level. If you go back through my Instagram, you'll see like at every belt level there's an appreciation post for Luke. Luke, we were white belts together, we were blue belts together, purple, brown, and black belts together. We were even no belts together, right? Because we didn't start training in jiu-jitsu until Warren arrived. But yeah, so Luke has been my longest training partner. We don't get to train together as much anymore. Luke, he has a pretty demanding job, and he's a family man. So and he still trains all the time.
Yeah.
But if a lot of his training is like at hours, like sneaking it in, like he's an early morning training guy, and stuff like that. And those just don't work for me with this being my job. So I have to structure my training like probably around my work being here, which, makes sense. So I don't get to roll with him as much anymore, but when we roll, it's very violent. It's rough, and it's always for keeps, because especially since we don't get to roll very much anymore. And as Max alluded to earlier, we came up in an era where it was fight right away.
Yep.
Like our sparring was fighting,
Yep.
so our rolling is full, like it's calm. I have not rolled like a less than competition pace roll with Luke since we were like maybe purple belts.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Every time I roll with him, it is competition pace. You got to get in the mood to go.
Yep.
So yeah, Luke would be that. But who have I trained with the actual most? I would say like minutes of actual training against, like especially live training against Warren. You figure he's been my main training partner since 2010 for grappling, and like a large part of my MMA too. Like he would suit up and spar with me a lot. And there were times where it's just me and him, so like the whole hour is just us. At most training sessions, we're going to spend most of the rounds with each other because we're going to give each other the best looks, and stuff like that. So like if I could go back and like figure out the amount of like minutes spent rolling against Warren, it's probably something remarkable.
Yeah.
And I actually spoke about this the other day. Like I don't know the number, but the number of times that I have submitted him is like an easy, like my 3-year-old can count to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we're talking like, I don't know if I got 30.
Yeah.
And this is 14 years.
Yeah.
14 years of rolling like all the time.
Yeah.
Like multiple times a day, multiple days a week.
And you're really good. Like really good.
Yeah. And I'm under 30, and there's definitely been a day in which he has gotten 30 on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So like, yeah, I think about that, and then I think about like maybe he should coach me better.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So that was a great question.
Yeah, that was a good one. I think I'm gonna get to them all. Okay, so I got a serious one and then final one. So actually, this is two questions, but I'm just gonna bang them out as one. Okay, so these ones are going back to Tyler Fleming. So he said his second question was, "What motivated you to keep pushing through the hard/uncertain times?" And then his third question was, how did you know that your time as an MMA fighter was over?"
All right. So what motivated me to push through the hard times? Identity. Um, Felt like I didn't have a. It felt kind of like you didn't have a choice. My job was tied to it. Yeah, it just felt like mandatory. So like it's like, hey man, what got you to like get out of bed and like go to work? Like, well, it was kind of, I needed to pay rent,
Right.
right? You know what I mean? Or that's not even, just like, it just felt like there was not an option.
Right.
So like, if there's not an option, you either do or you don't.
Yeah.
So I did. And like, also the tough times never lasted, right? Like times where I was like, man, I wish I was like doing a regular job, or like maybe during a weight cut or something, right? Like, and then like something happens and like your motivation's at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you always, that next thing's around the corner. Like I have it happen still with jujitsu. I'm just like, dude, I don't want to train. I don't want to train. And then maybe I watch a match or I have a good roll or something, and now I'm just like re-obsessed. And
It's never
like,
linear.
it's never linear. And there's that ebb and flow. So that got me through the tough times. What let me know it was done? When my goals didn't match what I was willing to do.
Yeah.
My goals were, I didn't want to just, my goals, I wanted to be in the UFC, and I wanted to like, obviously, like when you're younger, it's like UFC champ. All right. Then like, you know what I mean? Like maybe you set different goals, and I was like, okay, I want to be in the UFC and I want to do something.
Yeah.
I want to do something while I'm there. So I just had a knee surgery. I was like 32 years old, I think. Had a knee surgery. Went through a rough bit on getting fights against guys who should not have been worried about me. In my opinion, should not have been worried about me. I had 14 turndowns.
And again, I'm going to throw this out here. One, we weren't just looking for fights at lightweight. We started to accept fights at welterweight as well.
Yeah, so I just had knee surgery.
Yeah.
And then I had knee surgery in September, and I was fighting. It was going to be the first week of December for CFFC. And, I had like 4 quality opponents turn me down. And I was like, this is a sign. It's a sign I'm not ready to fight. I need more for my knee, right? And I was kind of I wasn't feeling like,
on it.
yeah. I was like, so it's a sign, da da da. And then we were supposed to fight in February. I was under contract with them, by the way. So then we were supposed to fight in February. And I had like 2 or 3 dudes turn me down. And then now I'm in panic mode because like I feel like, oh, like the clock's ticking on my career. And then I'm like, all right, I'll do 170, right? So start doing some 170s, and like no one's biting. I'm like, all right, dude. So then there's an April card, and I'm like, yeah, dude, 155, 170. They even threw an 85er in there. I was probably not going to take the 85er, but he said no to me first.
And
so,
also, let me just add too, some of the people who are on this list are people that you would recognize who are doing well in the UFC right now.
yeah, they're doing okay. They're not. No one's like fucking
Yeah, I know, but
burning
like,
it down, but they're in there,
they're in the UFC and
and they've been there for
they've
now
been there
for like
and they're getting wins.
they've been there now for like 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just like, it seemed like the road in front of me was too long for what my goals were. And I had a misconception of what would happen to my body with time. So I retired then. I never made a big deal about it. There's not a single post on the internet that says I'm retired. I didn't get to leave my gloves in the cage. I didn't do an interview. I didn't do anything, right? Like I just was there one day and the next day I wasn't. So what happened after like all those disappointments there, it was like, all right, at the time I was 9-4. I was on a 2-fight win streak, which was like, definitely going to be helpful. But since I was struggling to get these fights, and the way I looked at it, I needed to like probably rattle off 3 in a row, 3 more in a row, which would have put me at a 5-fight win streak, and then 12-4. And I was like, that could probably get me into something, and I was like, all right, so to rattle off 3 in a row, like I'm already having trouble. I mean, like, I just couldn't get a fight for the last 6 months. So it's like, all right, how long is that going to take? All right, boom. If you take a loss, then restart that 5 fights.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm in the toughest weight class to get in, 155, which is like incredibly deep, and there's so many people to choose from. And like, even though they chose some of these people who turned me down over me, like, it's not like they were bad choices. Like, they're quality, like, they're still in there.
And anyone who would have said yes is gonna be good.
Yeah, yeah. So I just like was like, all right, now what I'm looking at, and I'm thinking like, for some reason, I'm thinking like when I'm 35, your body just shuts off, right? Like something along those lines, like not to that drastic, but like in that vein. So I'm like, all right, so basically, if I push it right now, I can get there, and then I get to tell everybody I got there, and then that's it. And I'm like, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not me, so I'm done right now. Hindsight, I get to 35, and I'm like, dude, I'm better than I was when I was 32.
Yeah.
Right? There's this meme. I'm sure a lot of you know it. I've sent it to you multiple times. Everybody knows this meme. It's this guy, and he's digging for diamonds. He's digging for diamonds, right? And he gives up, and he turns around, and you see, like, the diamond was just, like, right on the next dig. And then there's a guy below him digging for diamonds, and he's motivated, and he's just, like, relentlessly going. And it's like, man, you don't know how close you are. And stuff like that. But I don't know if I regret retiring or not. Probably don't. I don't know. It led me to where I am today, so not too bummed about it. It did leave me away from MMA. Like, you know, it's not very much a secret that, like, I didn't even coach. I was like, yeah, dude, I'll just do jiu-jitsu. And I was all like emo about MMA, and I didn't like it. I'm actually not very knowledgeable about the current era of fighters because I didn't watch them. You know,
For like, yeah.
yeah. But then the team brought me back. The young up and comers, you know, and their motivation towards fighting brought me back, and I saw how I could be a huge help. So here we are, sitting in these chairs, listening to the coaches.
Dude, and you know what? That was a great answer, and that brings me to the last question, and it kind of relates to the last question. So this is also from Will. He said, fun question actually for both. If there was a Legends tournament, MMA or Muay Thai, do you guys think you got enough juice in the tank to compete one more time? If so, would you approach the fight world differently from the knowledge you gained coaching versus in your early days of competing? Would Mike strike more, and would Will use more of a freestyle in Muay Thai like Luke the Chef?
Okay. I definitely still have it. 100%. I'd go. I'm in. Yeah. How would I fight differently? I don't know.
Specifically, would you strike more? Is the question.
Dude, no. That would be. I think there's a misconception. I struck like the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like most of my. I would say, okay, let's take a look. Let's just quickly like glance back at my last, I don't know, let's say 6 pro fights. Almost all stand up. You know, like, okay, like I get takedowns.
The only one that I think was majority of time on the ground is maybe Bregman.
That was about 50-50, I would say.
Really?
Yeah, there was a lot of stand up in that.
But I'm just
so that was like 50-50.
That was almost all stand up.
Almost all on the feet, barring. Except I did 1 takedown.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was all on the feet.
Del
Though
Bruges.
I got the takedown, but finished it immediately thereafter.
Right.
But the canvas was super slick, so that's like almost an outlier.
But still, the majority of the fight on the feet. Del Bruges mostly on the feet.
Del Bruges, the entire fight was on the feet, right? I got 1 takedown, he got 1 takedown, and on both of our takedowns, we were down for seconds. Seconds. Pope was all on the feet.
Oh, yeah.
Except for after my takedown, and then he choked me unconscious. Thanks, Mike. And then Martinez in Bellator, it was all on the feet.
Oh, yeah. Maybe 50-50, maybe.
We didn't go to the ground at all.
That's how you finished it, right?
Yeah, from the back, from standing.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking you
like
clinched the most of the time.
Yeah, I didn't even shoot. I didn't even shoot like a leg attack.
Right, yeah.
Right? It was all standing.
Yeah.
And then I took his back on the feet, right?
Right,
and
yeah.
then brought him down.
That's right.
And then choked him immediately after that. So, like, I couldn't
You didn't
very
take him
well...
down in the first?
No, in the first, those were the elbows.
Yeah,
I didn't
that's
need
right.
to. I was like,
Yeah.
I smashed him.
Yeah.
Smashed him with elbows. So, yeah, like, if you take, like, those, like, dude, like, I was scoring takedowns.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? I would be like, oh, got that round.
Yeah,
got
but
that
you weren't
round.
laying praying.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I wasn't like frantically trying to
Yeah.
stay on the ground. Yeah, I would say that like in my last like 6 fights, which is a pretty decent percentage of my pro career, I would say like over 85% of my fights were on the feet.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
Yeah. So no, I wouldn't strike more. Like,
Strike
I would
less.
strike less, maybe. Honestly, yeah. I think I'd just be a little bit more like, I don't know. I'd be a little bit more disciplined with my stand up. I don't want to do this, so I'm not coming out of retirement. But like, if there was this theoretical legends thing, I would like to approach it. I didn't get to fight with your system.
Right.
I didn't get to fight with all these new cool things, all these
Mm-hmm.
positional understandings, all the new you. I didn't get
Yeah.
to fight with that. I fought like with regular you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like you have developed so much more. So I would like to like use that system.
Right.
And I think that system would have played really great into my game too.
I agree.
So that would be the difference there.
You know, it's funny. He asked if you would have struck more and if I would have been like a little more freestyle flowy like Luke the Chef. And I was like, dude, that's hilarious because you did plenty of striking. And two, you know what my striking style is kind of just like
Yeah.
Luke the Chef,
Yeah,
outside feint heavy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and then would you approach that any differently knowing what you know now, like coaching? From like, you know, knowing what you know from coaching, if you had to fight again, would you approach anything differently?
Yeah, I'd be a little bit more systematic and strategic. You know what I mean? I would honestly play the sport more and fight less.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, as opposed to like going in there and like fighting.
Right.
There's moments to fight.
Yes.
There's moments to fight in there, but use those moments in the sport. I'd play the sport a little more.
Well, quick answer to your question, Will, for me is no, I don't have the juice. I have zero intentions of fighting ever again. And
You have neck surgery.
I have neck surgery coming up. So even post recovery, if my neck feels fantastic, I could be in the best shape of my life. No, I don't want to fight anymore. The only way I would fight is there's like specific people where I'm like, yeah, I'd fight that dude.
Yeah.
But we don't need to talk about that. But no, I do not have the juice. I have no desire to compete anymore. And if I did need to fight again, I would use more grappling. Well, actually, I don't even know why I say that because I've never fought MMA. You know what I mean? So,
What about your jiu-jitsu? Would you use more grappling as opposed to stand-up?
no, I would use more stand-up.
All right. Hey, thanks for the questions, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed these answers. That was Don't Tell Mike 2.0. There'll be more in the future. Who knows? Maybe we'll find a way to where like it's not just like one-sided, right? Because we just did Don't Tell Will, now Don't Tell Mike. Maybe we'll do like a Don't Tell the Coaches. Maybe we'll have a moderator come in and like off camera read it to us. That'd be cool. Who knows? Lots of ideas. We'll see you guys next time.